Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, we're going to be using this Operation Right Home sketch. Pause here to get your measurements. And then if this is your first time, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hitting the notification bell, so that way you get alerts whenever I upload new content. All right, you guys, grab your papers, your glue, everything you need to come join me at the table. So I'm starting off using this gnome stamp set, and I decided for the long piece in the white that's going vertical that I wanted to do sort of like a little scene. So I'm pre-treating my paper with EK Success powder tool, and I'm just rubbing that powder over so that way when I use my embossing powder, it won't stick where I don't want it to. So I'm just inking up using some VersaFine Black Onyx. And then I'm going to sprinkle the embossing powder over top of it. And I'm using the Brutus Monroe. And that one is, I want to say it's the Gilded. I have it right here in front of me. Yep, Gilded Sparkle. All right. And then we're going to heat that up and then we'll do the next step. So like you could potentially stamp and then put the powder over top of the next part, but I didn't want to risk brushing the powder off by accident with my hand. So that's why I'm heating up my tool. I'm using some of the heat from the back and the front to get it melted. And now we're going to print the words. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp my boxes, because I'm going to put 2 boxes, and next to there is going to be the words naughty and nice. And then we're going to check off which one the card holder is. Who's being sent the card, right? So I decided to put naughty at the bottom. And then we're going to do the nice on the top square, next to the top square. And then we're going to cover those both in the gold and then tap that back in. And if you have coffee filters, you can use those. If you wanted to use, just regular printer paper, you can do that too. I was just using what I had next to me while I was crafting. So I just grabbed the scrap. Okay. Now we're going to hit the check. And on this card, I'm making it a nice. And we're going to sprinkle the embossing powder on there. And because it was so small, I just dumped it right back into the bottle. And we'll heat up the check mark real quick. And that's probably the most work on this card. And I like doing these this way to show you that if you're not a colorer, if you don't want to deal with the markers and the watercolors and all that stuff, you can continue to do the card sketches. You can add elements and they don't have to be colored in. And the gold embossing, or that's just a quick way to get a little pizzazz on your card. So once again, it's an A2 size. We're scoring at 4 1/4. And that's going to make the card 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then we're going to start layering up our pieces. So I'm going to put the matte, our base paper, which is, I used the craft card stock in that way for each of the card series this month. So there'll be a different pattern basically as the base. And then we build up the sketch on top of that. And I use the wet glue and the tape runner glue to just give me those few seconds. Y'all know, if you've been watching for a while, you know that sometimes stuff just goes on crooked and you need those few seconds to be able to lift it up and then reposition. So that's what the wet glue does for me. So that's why I do both. All right, so we're gonna get it even and then we'll get this down. And if you're not shipping this or, sending it through the mail, if you're handing it to somebody and you wanted to give it a little extra lift, you can think about doing foam on even these layers, you know what I mean? To give it added height, added dimension. I think matting your pattern paper always gives it an element of like a step up on your card. We've talked about it before. Like There's something about it. I don't mind not matting, but sometimes it just makes it more substantial, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to use the back side of this pattern paper for our stripe across the middle. And then that's going to be where our image is going to lay, right across that. So we're going to go ahead and attach this. All right. And we'll go ahead and get that down with a little bit of the wet glue. And if you're worried about, like, because there's a little bit of a raised area now that we have the other pattern paper down, you put some cardstock underneath on the sides that are hanging off if you want to make it more even. It doesn't bother me, so that's why I don't do it. But if that's something that, you know, you'd want to do, feel free. And then that'll just make it nice and even. And now I'm just going to load up the back of my image. And I'm just using these foam squares because these are what I have near me. And, you know, I don't mind using a lot. If you have the regular, like the foam strip where you can like just pull off the roll and cut out what you need, you can do it that way too. And then I just use a little bit of wet glue so I can position if I need to with those as well. Because sometimes when you put foam squares down, that's it. They're not going to move and you don't have any time on those. So that's why I did that. And then to finish it off, we're putting our 3 enamel dots in the upper right hand corner. So the one card says nice and the other card says naughty. All right, you guys, here are the close-ups. Thank you again for joining me with this video. Make sure you give me those thumbs up. And like I said before on previous videos, leave a comment down below. I definitely enjoy reading them. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves and stay safe. Have a good one.